Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back to the latest episode of Hot News. We're going to be going into the tech news of the day. And I don't know if you know this, my friends, but 2020 has been wild. So why don't you just pick yourself up some nice I Survived 2020 Myth Gita merch, officially commemorating the 24-hour charity stream that we did, as well as providing you a way to just kind of enshrine the fact that this year has been wild, and this mug, pseudoscientifically proven to potentially help you to alleviate symptoms of actually surviving this year. I don't know if that was the correct statement that my lawyers told me to say, but it's a great mug, and if you buy it, I mean, somebody's got to survive, right? One of us, hopefully. One of us has to make it through 2020. Well, looks like one of us amongst the GPU brethren is going to be AMD. They are the ones who are going to survive, with information coming out about how the RX 6900 XT might be able to slap Nvidia in the face, and that is thanks to a new patent that's been revealed, which is confirming some other rumors that we've heard of AMD's Infinity Cache. So, as you can see here, there's a trademark that's been filed for that. The reason that this is so intriguing is that even though the anticipated RX 6900 XT is supposed to have 16 gigabytes of VRAM versus the 3080's 10 gigabytes, it's only on a 256-bit bus, which means the memory throughput is around half a terabyte per second, as opposed to the close to terabyte per second it is on the 3080, which would likely mean worse gaming performance unless AMD sees some insane architectural improvements on Big Navi. But the way that Infinity Cache is apparently expected to play into the game is by potentially, we don't know this for sure, somehow combining with other resources that are already on the system, with the fact that AMD has renamed the L3 cache on their Ryzen chips to be Game Cache instead of L3 cache. There could be this possibility that they actually converge with the CPU and use some of that cache, especially on the higher end Ryzen chips where you don't necessarily need as much, potentially, or it could be using some other implementation of memory management systems, which could allow it to have a faster loading altogether, which means the RX 6900 XT, even though it might be on paper slightly worse than the RTX 3080, might actually come ahead in a lot of scenarios, simply due to the fact that AMD has developed a brand new technology, which is actually going to allow them to kind of work together. This might be a similar feature to what we've seen with Infinity Fabric, which allowed AMD to scale their Zen cores to a lot more and kind of beat Intel at the core count game, and then as they've progressed now at the actual performance game, and that might be what we're seeing here with Big Navi. They found a way to take their slim GPU winnings of having a 256-bit bus, having a more efficient architecture, and then turn that into gaming wins. And hopefully, potentially, by them only using a 256-bit memory interface, that might make the card actually cheaper, and therefore, if it can be competitive with Infinity Cache, we might actually see this be a huge shakeup in the industry, or it could potentially be like the previous Navi launch, which was, hey, that's a great price, I'll consider buying one. As opposed to, oh my gosh, that changes everything we know about gaming. Which one are you expecting to be the case? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget that this coming Thursday, AMD is indeed going to be doing their Zen 3 announcement. I believe it's at 12 p.m. Eastern. You can come watch it with us live over on Twitch, twitch.tv/UFDisciple. Come give us a follow there so that you're ready to watch the Zen 3 announcement, which we're only expecting to be the 58 and 5900X, but we'll see how that plays out in a couple of days. AMD's not going to be making an announcement of RDNA 2 until October 28th, so we still have a little while for that. And we have a little while to wait before we get the RTX 3090 and 3080 with NVIDIA's Jensen at GTC yesterday in a Q&A, saying that he believes that demand will outstrip all of our supply throughout the year. Saying that, remember, we're also going into the double whammy. The double whammy is the holiday season. Even before the holiday season, we were doing incredibly well, and then you had to top it off the Ampere factor, and then you add on the Ampere holiday factor, and we're going to have a really, really big Q4 season. The Ampere factor, really, Jensen? I get it. I get it. He continued on to say that there is no supply issue, there is a demand issue, which I don't know if my macroeconomics that I took in college is going to play off here, but pretty sure when it's a supply and demand graph and that they work together. Is that right? Am I making this up? That if you have a demand issue, you also have a supply issue because you're not actually meeting the demand? Maybe, I don't know. This is obviously kind of disappointing for everybody who's been wanting to get their hands on the RTX 30 series card, and doesn't necessarily bode well for the upcoming launch of the RTX 3070, and also goes hand in hand with rumors that we were hearing before the 30 series that there was going to be massive supply constraints, and it does appear that that is what we're seeing right now. But we have pictures of the RTX 3070 GPU dies actually being validated right now, and apparently, according to the report that came out of the Baidu forums, this particular line capacity can do 1,000 per day. So 1,000 GPU validations per day could mean that we might still get them, you know, in 2021, because a lot of you guys are going to buy these RTX 30 series because nobody bought the RTX 20 series. Also, additionally, with that, we got an up close shot of the die that's going to be going on there with the quality sample right there. But as I mentioned, yesterday was GTC, or the second GTC of the year for Nvidia. They did the same thing that they did back in, I believe it was March or April, or did they do it in July? They postponed it. I can't remember. This year it's been crazy, which is why you should absolutely pick up one of our I Survive 2020 merch. Anyways, they released videos on it and then also had a Q&A afterwards. But some of the big announcements that came out of that was Nvidia's introducing a brand new line called DPUs, or data processing units, that's supposed to be in data centers and process all of that, essentially saying that the upcoming future is going to be in the cloud. So they're working towards being that and making sure that we don't matter to them anymore. Gamers are already 49% of the revenue for the company. So as long as they can continue to not rely on the mainstream consumer plebs, they won't have to anymore. Additionally, they're also going to be building UK's most powerful supercomputer, which is going to be dedicated for AI research in the healthcare sector, with 400 petaflops of AI performance and 8 petaflops of LinPack performance, which is going to be number 29 on the top 500 most powerful supercomputers. And they also unveiled their professional line of graphics cards yesterday, the RTX A6000 and then the A40, which are not this one's the RTX A6000, as you can see right there. It's a beautiful looking card. I love the black and gold. And then this is the A40. This is not the RTX A40. This is just the regular A40. Don't misconstrue it, but dang, that's beautiful. Obviously, this is meant for a data center environment because it doesn't even have a fan. It's supposed to be used for server fans that blow the air through, and that's just, the gold heat sinks make me all happy inside. What doesn't make me happy inside was some of the AI stuff that they also unveiled at GTC yesterday, especially with its Maxine platform. Now, all of this isn't necessarily bad. As they release the video, what they show is that there could be super resolution improvements in things such as resolution, then also things that they implemented into their RTX broadcast suite, which is virtual backgrounds, which was auto reframing, denoising, which is obviously pretty cool. This is weird in the fact that they chose to use an alien for it, the conversational AI avatar. That's not really what bugged me. We'll get to that in a second. Then on top of that, they showed translation, which is insanely cool. AI video compression, also a thing, which makes it so that you don't have to stream as much data as you're doing live voice calls. This one bothers me. Face alignment. Dude's looking off to the side, right? Okay, so then the AI process it. It's gonna happen in a second. And then you can rotate his face to look at you. I don't like that. Don't like that in the slightest. Mommy, I'm scared. Come get me. I think we're in the wrong future. 2020 is a nightmare. Nvidia is powering it. You could be powered by our Surviving 2020 merch. UFDstore.com. Not really. UFDstore.com is actually LTTstore.com because Linus bought the domain. Anyways, let's just buy our merch. Link in the video description. Speaking of merchandising. It's finally official that the hotly anticipated consumer release of Cyberpunk 2077 has gone gold, which means that it officially should make its release date of November 19th. In case you're not familiar with the phrase going gold, that essentially just means that they're actually able to print it on a disc and ship it out, which, with reports of the fact that CD Projekt Red has implemented company-wide mandatory crunch time for the release, that means that while this is going on, the crunch is for the day one patch. Wow. Speaking of day one patch, don't you wish you could just patch Intel up? They've got skinned knees, bruised toes, everything's just looking mighty unclean on them. Well, apparently, according to the latest releases, they're starting their work on hardware enablement of Meteor, like the 7nm architecture. There's more reports coming out that certain versions of their 10 nanometers are going to be delayed, but we'll talk about that in tomorrow's episode of Hot News because it wasn't quite ready when I was compiling all of this stuff for this. Meteor, like, expected to debut in 2022 or 2023, and it's supposed to have the big little cores kind of like ARM does, so that it's not necessarily just one monolithic setup. Anyways, we'll see if this actually ever comes out. We need to patch them up, kiss them, we need to say goodbye to them, just like eventually we can say goodbye to 2020 and you can prematurely celebrate you're surviving 2020 with the I Survived Meth Gita mug. It's the most beautiful thing that we've ever created here at UFD Tech, and I absolutely think you should check one out, if not just in the mug variety. We also have face masks, which don't recommend you wear this out in public, right? Especially before the end of 2020, but the mug is safe. You drink this at home. Nobody else has to see this, because this is wild. This was not my proudest moment, but thankfully, because we raised over $40,000 for charity, I was more than willing to be weird. I'm always weird. Bye.